And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Episode 302 of this show. I have to... Hold on. Here we go. Oh, my goodness. I am so... Anchor... /Spotify has screwed me over. There's no soundboard apps I could use. The only other option I can see is getting an Elgato, and I'm not doing that. I'm not spending more money for something that brings me no money. 303, excuse me. I just edited 302. Yeah, I'm behind on videos too. Hey, listen. Before we get started, this is for the audio listeners, because eventually I'll have to do this. This is a very special episode with an interview with three very special guys. I have to go to my email to make sure I don't get names wrong. The first three people I talked to were David Caspe and the Libman brothers, including Matthew Libman and Daniel Libman. They created a show on Peacock called Mr. Throwback. And the show stars Steph Curry and Adam Pally and Ego Wodum. And it's truly, I'm not kidding when I say this. It's so funny. And it's not because I'm a huge fan of David Caspe and the work of the Libman brothers. It's because I think the show is great. It also stars Aiden Mayeri, who is a wonderful actor, and who else is in this thing? And it's got a lot of great character actors like Rich Sommer, Neil Casey, just a bunch of funny people. If you like the comedy of David Caspe, and if you like what, let me read you what the Caspe and the Libmans have worked on before. David Caspe has created one of my favorite shows of all time called Happy Endings. You should check it out wherever you get TV shows. I believe, quite literally, you can watch it on every streaming platform. I'm not kidding. I think it's on Hulu, Netflix, maybe even Max. I'm pretty sure you can watch it on every streaming platform. He also did Black Monday, Champaign, Illinois, Blockbuster, interesting, Kanan, and now Mr. Throwback. The Libman brothers, Daniel and Matthew, have worked on How I Met Your Father, which is a show I like. It's a very funny show, and it was great at continuing the world of How I Met Your Mother. I wish we found out who the father was. Don't you dare think I did not ask that question, because I definitely did. They also worked on Solar Opposites, Black Monday, Kenan, Champaign, Illinois, The Mick, Imaginary Mary, Dr. Ken, and Marry Me. Marry Me is another show that I believe that was Caspe's second show after Happy Endings, and again, another short-lived show. Listen, I'm serious. Check out Mr. Throwback. I think it is, I mentioned this in the interview, it is doing something that you don't typically see with these mockumentary-style shows. And another thing, it's way more heartfelt than any show that these guys have done. And it's not an insult to their previous shows, and it's not an insult to this show. It is... So it was kind of Mr. Throwback, Take Me Back. It made me feel. I'm going to keep it in the video. I'm keeping all this in along with the audio. It made me feel sad for Pally's character because the crux of it is that he reconnects with his old teammate, who is now Stephen Curry, who plays NBA basketball with the Golden State Warriors, and he lies about his daughter's illness, and now he has to cover his tracks and cover it up after Steph agrees to help and throw a charity event. It's a great show, very funny, and I can't wait to. I got halfway through the first season before I spoke to them, and I can't wait to finish the last 3 episodes. It's on Peacock. I believe as of today. That is why I have held off on releasing the interview. And it's also directed by David Wayne. David Wayne from Wet Hot American Summer, as well as Stella and other comedy things. And I believe David also has a garage band with Ken Marino and a bunch of other dads where they do cover songs. None of that matters. Mr. Throwback is available for you on Peacock. Again, it stars the great Stephen Curry, Adam Pally, Ego Wodum, Aiden Mayeri, and it's featuring people like Rich Sommer, Neil Casey, others. Created by David Caspe, the Libman brothers, Daniel and Matthew Libman. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's on Peacock. Watch it all. If you want to see a video version of this interview, you can head over to youtube.com/C plus comedy. I forgot what this was. Where you can see a video version of the interview as well as a video version of every podcast I do, including the Constitutionals, which is the entertainment business news podcast, which is this podcast. What else? LinkedIn Logs, which is the jobs podcast. Regular business. And then Late Night Lately, which is the late night show. If you want to follow us on social media, there's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at C Plus Comedy. Me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. And now we'll get you over to the interview. Bye. We'll see you soon, I guess. Don't say bye, Chad. Okay. Here we go.
Is there like a B plus and A comedy also that we didn't qualify for, or is this sort of just the general name of the site?
And then what percentage of people you interview ask that question?
Ask that exact question at the time.
I would say usually I get the C++ question about coding. The only people that say the B plus and A plus, they're mean people, the people that bully me online, and they really come for me. So thank you for adding to that pool of people. I appreciate it.
I was not bullying you. I was truly bullying myself and thinking that there's no way that we would have qualified for the A plus one, and that you reserve that title for other shows.
You have tiers of quality that you interview, and
in my mind, you operate all the different sites. It's just you choose which interviews go on which level of grading scale. That's all I was saying. So I was bullying myself. Please, just to be clear.
No. It's completely fine. I'm used to it. People just they make fun of the shows I watch. They make fun of the people I talk to. So you're just piling on, and you're making me a better person in the future.
By the way, I mean, you're just telling me that they're just going to make fun of the shows you watch and the people you interview. I mean, that is our show and us. So I think we're the ones who are in trouble.
We're all in this together, my friend.
Yeah, we're on the same team here.
Well, thank you for sitting down. We so appreciate it. We're excited to talk about the show.
No, this is fantastic because I'm a fan of all of your works individually, both as I know the Libman brothers as teams, and then David as yourself. I gotta tell you, I own Happy Endings on 4 different formats.
No.
Blu-ray, DVD, digitally on iTunes and on Google Play.
Is one of those a PlayStation game?
Thank you.
Yes, very limited prototype game.
Yeah. 3. I love it. It's like I've spent so much money on that show alone, and then for you guys, Daniel and Matthew, it's How I Met Your Father is just a great follow up to the original show, and I can see especially with Mr. Throwback, because I watched 3 episodes today. I got to the birthday party to where after Steph brings out at the end of that episode, the 3rd episode, where he brings out that, hey, this is what's happening to the daughter, and now everybody in the world essentially knows. I mean, it's a fantastic show. It's very funny, and I would say out of all of the work you guys have done, it is the most sincere. As funny as it is, it's the most sincere, and there's less jokes at the expense of having that more sincerity. There's less jokes, and I think it really works.
Wow, that's so nice to hear. Yeah, we have grown up since those DVDs you've held. Those DVDs are 15 years old or 10 years old or something. Yeah. So we definitely care. We really wanted to get into more character and heart and relationships and real people. So
I also think that just because of the volume of jokes on Happy Endings, like I think we ran out. I think we thought of all the jokes we ever could write.
We really did
on that show. So we're like, well, let's be a little more sincere and heartfelt and character driven, and it was by necessity.
Yeah. How did you all decide to continue working together for a show on Peacock?
Well, the three of us work together on almost everything, and have known each other for 40 years. So we tend to always look for a reason to work together. And then as far as Peacock, we will work for anyone who is willing to let us make a television show, if that, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But
anyone out there is listening,
yeah,
we will do it. Just say the word. We'll come up with something.
But Peacock was really excited about the show, and we love so many shows on Peacock and NBC, of course, and it just felt like a perfect home for it. Stefan also is under a deal there, and just felt like a perfect home. And they've been so supportive and incredible in helping us make this show and believing in it. And it's not the most obvious choice of a television show to pair like a bunch of comedians with a Hall of Fame basketball player, but they really believed in it from the beginning and supported it like a lot. And they were just kind of the best home for it.
Yeah. I think when I was watching it, it does have aspects of other shows. Obviously, everything is an iteration of everything, but as similar as it is, to shows like The Office or Parks and Rec, or even just regular multicam sitcoms, I think that it is something that is unlike what is on television right now, and it works. And it's fascinating to see, to have Tien as the director chiming in every so often, and then to have Ego not be an object of desire and just really be a working woman, and to see, I think, Pally to just play this straight man that I think we saw glimpses of in Champaign, Illinois, but it's really standing out here, where you don't feel bad for him. You see where he's coming from, and the acting and the writing, I think, pairs well, especially with David Wayne's direction.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
that is
so
really
sweet.
so kind.
Probably one of
Put
the summaries.
put that in an article and put it on the internet for
That's
us, will
exactly
you?
what we intended.
Send that to
You
the
literally-
Smithsonian, sir.
basically just
no,
read off
I-
it.
look,
I mean, that's what we did.
I think we were. I know we were very, very fortunate with this cast to cast people in every role that elevated the material and brought so much of their own style and humanity and point of view to each role. So whatever was on the page originally that we had come up with our writers, like these folks elevated to such new and unexpected heights. And I think what you see is the result of a really fruitful collaboration between all of us.
Yeah, it's interesting, Chad, that you pointed out like that. It feels like more sincere and real. Or, we wrote, of course, like a bunch of sort of happy ending style jokes, that were in a lot of the scripts and stuff, and then we would just kind of get to set and start shooting them, and get in the edit room and start looking at them. And we inevitably those were the ones that kind of we fell out of the cut, because everything else was being played so real and funny by the cast that some of those jokes, which obviously we love jokes, they feel, they're very written. Like no one is going to actually come up and like just start talking like some of those, kind of twisting, turning jokes. And so like we were falling in love so much with everyone's performance on the realer, more sincere stuff, that those started to feel like outliers. And so we began kind of pulling them out of the scripts and out of the cuts and stuff like that. So
Wow.
It's nice to hear that it worked.
Yeah.
Which is all to say we'll have a hell of a blooper reel.
Oh God, I hope so. I hope so. What also interests me is that the other basketball entities that have starred in things like LeBron James in Trainwreck. I guess he had the third bill on that. Considering it's great to see how you can get Stefan to really kind of play like a I don't know if that's a real version of himself, but he feels like a dork, and it feels very funny, and I like that, and very natural. And then for like LeBron to do the same thing, versus who was the progenitor of all that? It was Michael Jordan, who played kind of a stiff turd, a douchebag of sorts in Space Jam, the original. And I'll say that to his face.
Okay.
I'll say it to his face. I'm not afraid of him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
How did you guys?
That makes one of us.
Yeah.
How did you all pull that out of Steph and really just make sure that he played a good version of himself on camera?
honestly, that really was just him. Like, he is so warm and open and generous and thoughtful and prepared. I mean, it was, there definitely was a lot of thought that went into like, what is the behind the scenes version of a celebrity? I feel like you've seen like sort of every version of that. You've seen like the nice guy who then like behind the scenes is like a dick or whatever. Like, to us, he's so out there in the public space as being, so charitable and generous with his time and like donates to, volunteers at kids stuff. And so it felt the most realistic to just kind of do a slightly exaggerated version of like who he really is, which is just like, truly, it's like, he's just a great guy. He really is.
He's also a very kind of silly and fun-loving guy. So to bring that sort of to the forefront of his character felt like it would be the most, the most fun to watch.
Is there a pressure to ever make this show feel prescient, like to feel of the moment, or because it's about basketball. It's taking place during a basketball season, and he gets the yips, and we have to deal with that. And was that ever something that you all discussed in the writers' room, or was that just something that was going to live in the background, and the story of a family trying to escape, this lie that they've told, was the thing, that the main goal?
Well, anything that was sort of ripped from the headline, so to speak, was actually a happy accident and the result of our sort of breakneck production schedule. So that sort of was, we'd always written towards, the going to the Olympics as the possible end of the season, and just the fact that we ended up with this production schedule, it made us sort of look like geniuses, but or like we knew what we were doing, but
yeah,
it just ended up happening really quickly. And but yes, of course, I think at the heart of it is the family story, and the story with Pally and his family and his friendship with Stefan and with Ego. And
yeah, I mean, typically we try to lean into stuff that's not tied to anything timing wise, that does feel more evergreen, that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, people can watch this and it doesn't feel like it's of such a specific moment, like the emotional stuff with the family and those sort of like emotional and intrapersonal relationship issues. Those things kind of can live on at any time. So those are the things we probably spent more time talking about and thinking about.
Yeah. Now, are you guys all basketball fans, NBA fans, and was it tough to have to listen to Golden Warriors, talk all the time, or were you able to try to fit in what your teams were and talk back to Steph and make sure that he understands that he's not the only basketball player out there?
Would never consider it. The answer, yes, we're huge basketball fans, but we're also huge Stephen Curry fans and huge Golden State Warriors fans. So it was actually a pleasure.
We're also from Chicago, so there's like not a ton of smack to talk at the moment, really.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it. I did actually grow up in San Francisco the first 8 years of my life, and then Chicago the next however many. So I can say that the Warriors were always my second favorite team behind the Bulls. But now, having done this show, I mean, I don't want to break any news here on your show, but I do feel like, how do you not root for Stephen Curry, who we've worked with and love now, to a point that, frankly, if it's Stephen versus the Bulls, I think I'm rooting for Stephen, guys. I hate to say it.
Yeah. I don't
have any other people that I could call like an actual friend of mine on any of the teams. So I think I would always root for my friends over anyone else.
Until any of the Bulls come and do the show, we're team staff.
Yeah.
Who would you want on the show from the Bulls?
Currently?
Yeah.
Nobody. I don't even want the Bulls. I don't even want the guys from the Bulls to be on the Bulls.
I'm a Mavericks fan, so I'm waiting for Luka to pop up.
Oh, shit.
Truly,
anytime.
Anyway, we'd put Luka on here in a heartbeat, man. That'd be amazing. No, we're huge. We used to go to all those Bulls games in the 90s because we are old during that championship run, and such a blast. Some of the best memories of our life. So to get to like do do a show with like the current day Michael Jordan is incredible, but no, we want to get everyone on there. We were thrilled to have, I think you saw it, that little inside the NBA TNT thing in the pilot. Yes. That was stuff that we wrote and sent to Barkley and Shaq and Kenny and Ernie, and those are guys we grew up.
Steve Kerr was nice enough to come on the show, and he was on that Bulls championship team. It was a thrill for us.
Yeah. I have a picture of myself high-fiving Steve Kerr as he walks off the floor after winning a championship in like 98, probably. And I got him to recreate the photo with me when he came to set today of me high-fiving him now. It's so cool.
David and I were in the building when he hit a game-winning shot to give the Bulls the championship in 97.
Wow.
It was sadly probably one of the better days of my life.
No, that's awesome. The only thing I can relate to that is I used to work at Warner Brothers here in Atlanta, so I've been in the same studio as Shaq and the guys at TNT.
So cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Cool.
I love those guys.
Yeah.
I like how Barkley was like, I'm done after the season. I'm retired. And then I feel like it was like less than a week and a half later, the articles came up that were like, well, for the right situation and the right price, he's back, which is great. I love that show.
That's fantastic. I have one more question, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. This is for Daniel and Matthew, because I could talk about happy endings for years and years and years to come. Bring me on the podcast. But who was the father and How I Met Your Father?
Undecided.
I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. I
was paying attention, and it truly, the answer is it had not been. They had not decided. Okay. They could have gone a million ways. I was pitching me.
Talking about breaking the fourth wall. So you wanted the reveal to be that it was one of the writers
the camera
on the
turns
show.
Around, walks off the stage on Paramount.
Yes.
Across
the camera
turns around into the writer's room.
Yes.
And then I'm
where a guy is sleeping. Where a man is sleeping with food on his chest.
A guy who
playing guitar in his office.
Has a face for radio. Yes. Eating takeout. And they're like, he's the father? That would have been incredible. Guys.
That would have been truly incredible.
That would have been amazing.
The best ending to any TV show ever.
Of all time.
Thank you. That's
undisputed.
What I said.
Undisputed.
I agree.
We love Atlanta, by the way, man. We that's where we shot Champaign Hill.
Yeah, I know. It was it's crazy just like seeing backgrounds that I know specifically and going, oh, I know that neighborhood. I've been past there. I've driven past there. It's so fun. You guys do great work, and I'm jealous that not a lot of people get to see it.
Well, we're sad that not a lot of people get to see it. Maybe people will watch this one. I mean, it's being advertised during the Olympics.
Fingers crossed. This is the one.
Maybe this is the one.
Yeah. Well, I'll be rooting for you all for the rest of time.
Again. Oh,
you're so nice.
Come on, I supported you 4 times over.
I know. Look at
this.
That's
crazy.
Chad.
I can't believe you can't believe you had an Xbox 360 game made of. That's so crazy.
Yeah, Dave's food truck levels are wild.
These are the two guys that came up with the name of that food truck right
here. Daniel did. Daniel came up with it.
Come on.
Take me home tonight.
That was a team effort. It was a team effort of one. All right, Chad. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks again.
Appreciate it, bud.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks,
Tell
Chad.
people to watch, please.
We'll do.
Make people watch. Thank you. Bye.
Welcome back. If you're listening to the show, if you're watching it, you just saw a fade. The classic "We'll be right back." And if you're listening to it, you listen to the interview, and then you're back in this part. Hold on, I'm opening up the theme song. iPad's at 31%. Went out last night. I did not get a chance to charge the iPad after cycling for an hour after working out. When it boxed Thursdays. Thursdays are very busy. Wednesday to Thursday is very busy for me in terms of working out. I work out like 4 or 5 times on Wednesday. That's not over exaggeration. It's very much the truth. And then Thursday, after finishing a workout at 7:30 on a Wednesday night, my 4th or 5th of the day, I go to bed, for 6 hours if I'm lucky. Then I wake up and I go work out at 5 a.m., 4:30-ish. It's boxing, which is one of my heavy days. And then I cycle at 7 when I get home. And then I do some yoga at some point during the day so I can stretch all that crap I just did out. And I did yoga, and then I forgot to charge the iPad before I went out. And then this morning I woke up, used a treadmill around 4 a.m., and it was at 36%. Now it's at 31. And here we are. 11:54 on a Friday. Anyway, that's what I am doing. Warby Parker needs help with my prescriptions. How are you doing? Fine? Great. That was a great interview, David Caspe. I love happy endings. And I love How I Met Your Mother. And so to see the sequel series, How I Met Your Father, it has a lot of great jokes. And I just wanted to find out who the father was, and it was canceled before I had a chance to before they had a chance to do that, to tell the story of that. I do have a theory about who the father. What the hell was that? I do have a theory about who the father was, and I know I've mentioned it before on this podcast. I'm pretty sure it was the black guy. I don't know what his name is. But they barely featured him in the show. He was like a recurring character, I guess. Daniel Augustin, he played Ian. I'm almost positive that was the father. They don't list the son who did the voiceover for the son on the show. But I would be so surprised if it was not him. On the internet, and I'll get to the rest of this episode in a second. On the internet, people say the father is Sid, who's played by Suraj Sharma, but he's look, in the show, he's married. It's ridiculous to think that he would leave his soulmate, who, yes, the problem is she's doing her residency in California and they live in New York. I don't care. They're not going to break up. All right. Second thing, I don't like this intergroup dating. The third thing, they're not going to break up. All right. It's ridiculous. In the first episode, they do narrow it down. In the first episode, in the pilot of How I Met Your Father, I'll explain the pilot of the show. She says, I met your father that night. He was in the room that night. And it flashes between Christopher Lowell's character, Jesse, Suraj's character, Sid, I believe Josh Peck's character, Drew, and Daniel Augustin as Ian. If you just listen to the kid's voice, the voiceover of the kid, it's a mixed race child. I don't know. I'm wanting it to be him because they spent way too much time on Christopher Lowell's character trying to get with Hilary Duff's character. We don't need that. You know, if they wrote a character for me to get with Francia Reza, oh my god. Anyway, check out Mr. Throwback on Peacock. Hey, listen, let's get into this. I didn't do an episode last week, but boy, oh boy, you better believe I'm carrying over the same stories. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Caitlin Huston, or Houston, Huston. SiriusXM launches a subscription service for top podcasts. Shows like Literally with Rob Lowe, Smartless, and more will be available on subscription service through Apple Podcasts. Now, Apple Podcasts has its own subscription platform, extra subscription platform. If you subscribe to podcasts via Apple Podcasts, you can, they started this a couple years ago, give more money to the people you love. So let's say you like listening to Smartless and you want to give more money to Smartless. Then you subscribe, and then you can subscribe to the Apple Podcast Plus version of Smartless, which will give you bonus episodes. No, actually, hold on. I don't know if that's bonus episodes or true, but ad-free stuff like that. Now it says apparently SiriusXM is doing the same thing for the podcasts that it owns. Yes, SiriusXM owns podcasts. SiriusXM is a podcast platform as well as a music platform, as well as a radio platform. It's not a music platform, technically, because they'd have to pay more money. I believe. That's my theory. Launching August 5th, which is now the 9th, SiriusXM Podcast Plus will give subscribers an ad-free listener experience, as well as bonus content and early access to new episodes. So Smartless, they also own Freakonomics Radio Network, which includes 99% Invisible, the Joel Osteen podcast, Jesus indeed, and The Bonfire with Big J. Okerson. There you go. The podcast subscription will be $5.99 per month or $44.99 annually. I don't know where they got this idea from. I don't know if people have been itching to get more Smartless in their world, in their life. I've never listened to an episode, and I have no plan on it. They don't get a lot of people of color in that. Very true. They do not. It's just you should look down the line like, okay, white guy. Any Hoosers, many of the offerings from the subscription service are also SiriusXM subscribers. Wait, what? Many of the offerings from the subscription service are also SiriusXM subscribers directly through the SiriusXM app. So they're available through the app, I assume. Let's see. SiriusXM, they relaunched their audio app. If you're watching the video, I'm holding it up to the screen. To the camera. They relaunched their audio app, and they've been doing very well in terms of offering extra, I hate to say content, extra things, extra, stuff to do on the app. The video is obviously there, and the video is on the website as well, but there's also new shows like the back episodes of a show called Club Yacht Rock, which I love. Club Yacht Rock is fantastic. They've done well with integrating the Pandora stuff. It is a little convoluted and a little bloated in order to reach all the things you love. But anyway, so let me go to the talk and podcasts episode thing. And I'm not... Okay, let me go to Smartless. I don't know if you can see Smartless. If you get... So here's the podcast version of Smartless on SiriusXM. To me, it doesn't appear to have extra anything at all. It just seems to be a podcast. Oh, you know what? I see it. Okay. Hear it on SiriusXM first, August 5th, an episode with Nikki Glazer. It says early access, as opposed to the August 5th episode that was uploaded, which is Vince Vaughn. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. They also, you could also, when SiriusXM, before they shut down, they own Earwolf. Well, they owned Earwolf, I guess. But in that period, a couple of years ago, when they owned Earwolf, and Earwolf had its own podcasting app, which the name I'm forgetting right now is called. What is that? Earwolf. Oh, Wolf. Jiminy Christmas. Earwolf Wolf app. I don't know what it was called. What was the app? Wolf podcast app. What was it called? Anyway, I don't know. It was an Earwolf podcast app. And on it, if you subscribe to SiriusXM, which I found out way too late, if you subscribe to SiriusXM, you could get you paid for the subscriptions for the podcasts, and you could also get bonus stuff. I don't know. It's also confusing to me. But this just seems like an easier way to get revenue for them. SiriusXM also, I saw a headline for this today. They announced an FM AM radio, whatchamacallit, a new thing. I don't know. Let's see. A free ad-supported subscription service to take on AM FM stuff. AM FM radio. So if that's your bag, if you still want to listen to SiriusXM, but you want ad-supported, then there you go. Eventually, I assume they're probably going to charge for it. Or maybe you don't want. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? I don't know. SiriusXM is great. I still subscribe to it. It's a wonderful platform. There's so many issues that still go around, but I do believe that it is an additive subscription to whatever music thing you use. Because I don't want to have music on my phone all the time. I don't want to have 100 gigabytes of music on my phone. I switch around. I listen to so much. I listen to yacht rock. I listen to pop. I listen to hip hop. I listen to the rest. I couldn't think of anything else. And I want to listen to talk sometimes. All the Joel Osteen radio. Oh, that makes sense why they own the Joel Osteen podcast. All right. Anyway, the next one comes from Variety, written by Brian Steinberg. CBS plans evening news overhaul. John Dickerson, Maurice Dubois, weather and close ties to 60 Minutes. If you don't know, CBS Evening News is going to change next year. Norah O'Donnell said she is stepping away from the show in order to become a new senior correspondent at CBS. She wanted, I believe, and I'm not going to Google this, and I'm not going to try to elaborate on it. I believe that when she did her interview with the Pope a couple of weeks ago, that she was more interested in things along that nature. And quite frankly, I don't believe the ratings for her show were doing too well, her version of CBS Evening News. But she's the reason I started watching that show. I don't watch it religiously. I watch PBS NewsHour, baby. I love that. They're retooling the anchors, format, segments, in a bid for to make the half hour once led by Walter Cronkite more valuable for modern viewers who don't recognize the show as a cultural touchstone it was in the 60s and 70s. But I mean, you can say that for NBC's news show and for ABC's news show. It's all different. You have to change for the modern age. I mean, look at PBS NewsHour. Even they got a new, fresh coat of paint, and it works for them. So after the election, she's leaving. They're going to put the show under the eyes of Bill Owens, who's the executive producer of 60 Minutes. There's going to be a new on-air team, including Dickerson and Dubois, Lonnie Quinn, who's the chief weathercaster, and Washington-based Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan. Owens intends to create a new show that works to break news and offer more depth rather than trying to run down dozens of items that surface early in the day in a space of less than 30 minutes, which is what the show is at this point. If you ever watch CBS Evening News and NBC Nightly News and ABC World Tonight, they don't go to commercial for like 10 minutes, and they're truly just recapping stories that you've seen all day on CNN and MSNBC. That at 6 o'clock, in a span of 3 minutes, that PBS NewsHour has done. And they're doing it for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes. And you're depending on how big the story is, you're not necessarily getting new information, which can be good or bad. If you get home from work and it's 6:15 and you turn on the TV and that's what you want to watch at 6:30, then by all means. Owen says they're removing the clutter. They're not going to be dealing with the things we think people might want to see, and we're going to be going to be about real issues, serious reporting, all that stuff. It's 60 Minutes is what it is, and it's so special because it's a news magazine show, and it's as urgent as it can be for a weekly show, and that's why it's kind of stayed the test of time. Versus CBS Evening News and NBC Nightly News and ABC World News, the broadcasting news, because it's a magazine. And that's why I think shows like Vice News Tonight, not Vice News Tonight, that's the nightly show, like Vice on HBO and Vice on Showtime, I think that's why that show did so well, is because it emulated this magazine style and it made it pertinent for we're talking about Palestine, and that's still relevant as much as it was 10 years ago. We're talking about Russia. Correspondents from 60 Minutes will appear frequently to break news they have discovered or tease some of the work they are preparing for Sunday News Magazine, and the anchors will get more than 90 seconds or so to delve into an important story or relay on-the-ground reportage. The program will once again be based in New York City after moving with O'Donnell to Washington, D.C. for the past few years. My biggest concern about hearing how the show will have a stronger tie to 60 Minutes or stronger ties to 60 Minutes is that it's a show that airs 5 nights a week. It becomes something that is more of a commercial for 60 Minutes. So they like, oh, you see this all the time on broadcast news, whether it's morning news or the evening news shows. You'll see, I'll stick with CBS. You'll see Nora O'Donnell interviews the Pope. We have for you a clip of that. And then they show a clip Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then they go, you can see the full thing on Sunday. But you've already shown 30, 40, a minute. You've shown so much of it. So what is the point of me watching 7 minutes of it on Sunday morning? CBS has tried to recast evening news for contemporary audiences before and found the task a difficult one. The Katie Couric's turn in 2006 with a mandate to refresh the format with more human and interest stories and interviews. Despite her hard work, CBS found viewers didn't necessarily gravitate towards the changes. Couric left CBS after a 5-year stint. CBS Evening News does run in third after NBC and ABC. Some of that is due to the CBS station lineup, which tends not to fare as well in various local markets as those tied to ABC. Yeah, the ABC in Atlanta is probably the highest rated one because of WSB, which is, I believe, the leading in the nation for local news. I don't remember. Please don't tell me. I know when I was at NBC, the 11 Alive here in Atlanta, 11 Alive here in Atlanta, my boss would always be like, we're in a number 11 market. And then, but we would be the number 3, most number 2 or 3. We would always, if I remember correctly, we would always trail behind. First of all, top tier is WSB TV, Channel 2 Action News. And then we were always second or third. Never won. Maybe won for a story, but never won at all. Not in the time I was there. I was there for 2 years. O'Donnell's move to step away from the program after the 2024 election has spurred a cycle of speculation about CBS's motives and the place of evening news anchor in a world where a fountain of information is available from the touch of a smartphone screen, well before the evening news program kicks off at 6:30 p.m. on the East Coast. And then they talk about the sale of Paramount. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to rebrand this show and expect something that is going to reach a younger audience. Not unless you work in the news, you're not going to be seeking out, how, let me watch CBS Evening News because I like, Maurice Dubois. You're not Desus and Mero all those years ago. Hey, let's go on to this next one. This comes from Deadline, written by Katie Campione. This story is old. Studios throw support behind SAG-AFTRA-backed bipartisan bill regulating AI digital replicas upon Senate introduction. Why are you not scrolling? Jeez, man, I tell you, the Mac is a great platform. I am so sick of some of the quirks and features. I don't follow a lot of people on the internet. I do like Doug DeMuro because he's the same thing every single time. It's a guy in front of a car. I don't care about his new podcast, and I don't care about his. I don't care about anybody. I just want to watch him talk about cars. That's it. As SAG-AFTRA, what is wrong with the writing today? That's so crazy. These articles have been up for so long, and there's so many typos. This is from July 31st. Okay. As SAG-AFTRA has been pushing, because it says, there's no has, it just says been. As SAG-AFTRA has been pushing for protections against AI, the studios have been reluctant to support any legislation that might crack down on its uses too broadly. Everyone's on the same page now. The No Fakes Act, which is real, no fakes, all cap, has finally received support from the studios via the Motion Picture Association in late July, after the group had warned of the potential First Amendment violations earlier this year. The bill is sponsored by Senators Chris Coon, Democrat of Delaware, Marsha Blackburn, Republican of Tennessee, Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota, and Tom Tillis, Republican of North Carolina. I hope I got... They have the initials next to them. I hope I got that right. We support protecting performers from generative AI abuse, and this bill thoughtfully establishes federal protections against harmful uses of digital replicas while respecting First Amendment rights and creative freedoms, a statement from the MPA CEO Charles Rivkin read. We are particularly appreciate the sponsor's inclusion of safeguards intended to prevent the chilling of constitutionally protected speech, such as biopics, docudramas, parody, satire, which will be necessary for any new law to be durable. The MPA looks forward to work closely with the bill sponsors as the No Fakes Act makes its way into law. This is so important. This was a huge stipulation in regards to why writers and actors took so long. They didn't take long. Why there was this, why no one could come to agreement with the studios in regards to AI, because if AI is implemented in writing, then studios can just, go to an AI tool and say, and feed them a previous script for I can't think of a movie. I can't think of it. Spider-Man 1. For Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, they could say, please make, because I always say please when I use AI, please write Spider-Man 4 based on this first movie, and reference the first movie all the time. That's it. I'm dumbing it down. And then on the actor's side, we saw the story happen. Someone could use Scarlett Johansson's vocal performance from the movie Her and just put it into an AI platform, and now you can have her voice say anything you want. And you should not want that. And we have to implement safeguards and bills in order to protect against that, as well as the writing. In addition to requiring informed consent for digital replicas, the No Fakes Act, or the Nurture Originals, Foster Art, and Keep Entertainment Safe Act, offers historic federal IP protections against the misappropriation of voice and likeness, performance, and sound recordings and audiovisual works. This is why Robin Williams, he put this in his Disney contract years ago. That's the rumor, I guess. SAG, the WGA, everybody wants us a part of their contracts. Yeah, it's so interesting. People who aren't in the industry are always, like, at least in what I've noticed, particularly this week, when someone told me, no, your job's gonna, you're a TV producer, your job's gonna go away because of AI. I'm like, no, it's not. That's not gonna. And if it's gonna go away, that's gonna be, decades from now, because writers and actors and producers and directors, one, it takes just a finesse of the hand in order to set up a camera correctly, or set up lighting, or find the mise en place, the mise en scène of a shot or whatever. I don't know if we'll have any AI actors in the next couple of decades, but that's not going to happen right now. Okay, let's go on to the next story. There's a country music boom. This is so old. This is like 2 months old. It's from July 17th. I also have to sign in to Wall Street Journal, who, true or false, just called me about my renewal. The answer is true. Why is it not loading? All right. There's a country music boom. Yeah, that's it. Neil Shaw, country music. Neil Shaw wrote this, Wall Street Journal. Country music is booming again. This time the fans are in charge. Thanks to just greater outspoken country artists. We're finally seeing, first of all, I'm seeing ads and I have an ad blocker on. We're finally seeing just a new generation of country. Shabuzi, Zach Bryan, Lainey Wilson, not to mention Casey Musgraves. Taylor still dips her toe in. For the first time this year, the country festival Stagecoach sold out before its better-known mainstream counterpart, Coachella. Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, one of those people never really apologized for saying the N-word, and the other one never said the N-word. Morgan Wallen did. But they're selling out stadiums. Shabuzi's Bar Song is playing all over the place, and it ruled the Hot Country Songs chart. And is being played, dare I say, played way too much on Peloton. Lainey Wilson, I'm still in love with her. She had a giant concert. She opened for the Rolling Stones in June. Beyonce, Post Malone, everyone's doing well. After lagging far behind other genres in popularity on streaming due to largely older fans sticking to radio and CDs, country has caught fire online, driven by a younger audience, younger listeners rather, and spearheaded by the sustained success of Morgan. Country in many ways is playing catch-up, music executives say, and at a time when hip-hop, by far America's most popular genre, is ceding market share and cultural clout, mostly because rappers stink now. They all sound the same, just like country artists all sound the same. So I mentioned earlier, I have SiriusXM, and in my car I have 40 slots for radio. So they're like top like seven or eight or like news, Howard Stern news and sports. And then the next ones, I put them all in categories, or genres rather. I match them up by genres. It's like pop, decades, new and classic rock, including yacht rock, and then hip hop. There's not a lot of hip hop stations. And I'll just say this. I don't listen to new hip hop. I don't find new hip hop on there. No offense. And then hip hop and R&B. And then it used to be the middle part of that used to be what's it called? What was the Asian station? Asian station. Oh God, I forgot what it's called. Anyway, it used to have Chinese rap, Taiwanese rap, K-pop, all this stuff. Oh my gosh, I miss it so much. It was such a good station. And then I got Caliente. Then it goes into dance music, and then at the very bottom, country, 2 country slots. Prime country, which is like 90s country, and the highway, which is current country. Oh, and then the last one is Frank Sinatra's one. Seriously Sinatra, I think that's what it is. Yeah. Country music streaming rose 23.5% last year across U.S. music streaming services, which is nearly double the growth rate of the industry generally, according to data tracker Illuminate. I also think, besides the country music stations and the playlists and everything, I do believe that a lot of these songs are being mixed into traditional playlists alongside pop songs. There was a big country pop music with Lady A couple of years ago, or maybe like a decade ago at this point, and Florida Georgia Line, and I think that was a good little blip in terms of how that popularity, how the genre could grow, and really be outside of traditional country. The same way I listen to on the Spectrum on SiriusXM, they'll have they'll play like U2, and then they'll play like Greta Van Fleet, and then so that's great. And then they'll play like Phoebe Bridgers. That's great. That's good. It's because it's a spectrum of rock. And then they'll play And this also happens on Pop Rocks too. Imagine Dragons. and I'll always turn. I go, no, I don't want to listen to this. But country is big, and people like Lil Nas X and Casey Musgraves, they're helping integrate new listeners because they're gay people can like country music. We have Orville Peck out there. We have one of those brothers Osbornes. They're gay. Casey Musgraves, even though she's kind of steered into folk now, she supports the LGBTQ. She supports smoking weed and things like that, and loving who you want to love. Beyonce had Linda. It's not Linda Carter. Oh my God, this is so bad. This is a bad episode. Linda Martell and Shabuzi on her record. I do think in order for these shows to be more, I mean, not these shows, the genre rather, to be more diverse, they need to have more diverse people accepted. Just if Beyonce, that was a whole big thing. Beyonce was not being accepted into the country pop charts, or country charts rather. And you're gonna, there's only so many people who can support listening to one genre who all look the same. If it was all Latino people only listening to salsa music, then it would just it would stall out. If only people who liked superheroes saw superhero movies, then it would just be, you'd be flatline. But everybody goes to see them. I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine. I understood 80% of it. I'd never seen Loki. Well, it's season 2. I saw Loki season 1. I watched that show just by putting it on and letting it go. Just put it on, let it go, because I needed something in the background as I was playing a game. Anyways, it's a good story. Let's go on to the final. This comes from The Wrap, written by Sharon Knoll. Hey, guess what? It's locked out. Don't worry, I got my little tool. I got my little tool to read past. I guess I have to vamp now because I'm number 65 in the queue. Oh, it's loading. This is why you shouldn't lock stories behind a paywall. Annenberg study, lead roles for women dropped 14% from 2022 to 2023. Again, this comes from Dr. Stacey L. Smith and the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative. There were they have different studies going year round. There were 14 fewer girls and women in leading roles in 2023 compared to the previous year. The annual report crunched representation stats for the 100 most popular films from 2007 to 2023, tabulating for gender, race, ethnicity, LGBTQ+, identity, and disability. The study this year was called Inequality in 1,700 Popular Films. 2023 was the year of the Barbie movie, which was as much as I gripe about what's her face, Greta. What's her name? That movie did do something in terms of, women having a say in the world. Why did this take so long? I'm vamping. I was talking because I was trying to get through this. It's done now. The study found that only 32% of speaking characters were girls or women, and only 11% featured girls and women in at least 45% of all of its roles. Speaking roles. Of the top 100 money-making films of 2023, only 3 had a female lead or co-lead who was 45 years or older. This, and I mentioned another study a couple weeks ago that said that people are looking to watch shows and movies, especially post-pandemic, that are more diverse. People are looking to do that. And the fact that we are in this state where these movies aren't getting the recognition or even being made is just is so dumb and frustrating to hear. Even if movies like 80 for Brady and Book Club The Next Chapter are about, older generations of women, we still need movies like that so people can enjoy them. Not every movie has to be John Wick or A Beekeeper. Both movies I like, but still. Anyway, that's pretty much it for that. There's no more. I'm scanning over the information. Listen, if you liked what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com where you can see a video. Where you can see me talk to famous people. David Caspe, the Libman brothers, others. You can watch a video version of this show on youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can also see a video version of the other podcast, Late Night Lately, which is a late night show, as well as LinkedIn Logs, which is the jobs podcast. You can subscribe to those wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, you can follow us at @CPlusComedy. You can follow me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. You're the best. I gotta tell you, I think I love you. Okay. All right. Bye.